Okay, so I'm going to try and explain how to download and set up OBS to record your screen, specifically the Zoom meetings, which is very useful for recording classes where you're allowed to record, and to record meetings, research meetings or general discussions, obviously where all participants are aware of the recording and are okay with it. It's a free piece of software that's relatively easy to use once you're familiar with it. It's quite powerful, and I like it more than your standard screen recording software because I feel like it gives me more control. But free is definitely good. So OBS is the open broadcasting software. To get OBS, you can go to your favorite search engine. So mine is DuckDuckGo, and then I like to just put OBS download. It's right there. The first link on the list should be the correct one on the results. So it should be obsproject.com/download. If you go ahead, click that, it will just bring you straight to where you can select your operating system. By default, Windows is selected, or not even by default, it just knows that I'm on Windows. And if you're on Mac or Linux, obviously you have those options too. But go ahead and click download for the installer. It'll take a couple seconds to come down, but when it's down, you will be able to launch the EXE, and it will bring up the old setup screen that will look like this. All right, you can just go through and hit next, 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 and until it's set up, and it should allow you to save a shortcut, obviously on your desktop or on your Windows menu, wherever you like to save an icon, and then go ahead and run OBS. When you run OBS, the first thing that should pop up will be a screen that looks something like this. So the main screen here with the black rectangle, that is your scene. Obviously right now you have placed nothing in your scene, so it's blank. To the right you have a list of controls. You can stream, record, start a virtual camera, go into studio mode, or look at the settings, or close the software. Streaming is basically like recording, except you won't create a local file. You'll actually stream to something like YouTube or BitChute or whatever streaming service you use. It would require you just to enter your credentials. You'd get a key, essentially. It would verify that the account can be used for streaming. Once you set it up, that's what would happen. I know that's not what you're going to do today. Recording will just start to make a recording of anything on your scene. So whatever you've placed there, it will start recording. Virtual camera. OBS is fantastic in the fact that it can act as a virtual cam. So you could arrange input from your actual webcam with graphics, movable elements, information, the time, whatever you wanted, to create a sort of very informative layout. You've probably seen a lot of the YouTube streamers doing that. People on Twitch do it all the time. And then that would be the output to the meeting. So for example, on Zoom, you could change the way that you present yourself to everybody. I'll show you an example of that later. Studio mode allows you to switch between scenes whenever you want to, essentially. So if you have multiple scenes, you can see where you currently are and then see where you're going to go, and you can also sort of control how you're going to transition. That's not something that we're going to worry about today. You might want to have a look at the settings though, so pop the settings button. You don't need to worry about anything except output. Go to output and then go to recording. And check a couple things. It should be on MP4 by default for the recording format. That's probably the best file that you can use if you're not super familiar with the other formats, and it will run on any of your sort of default media software. So keep it as MP4, good compression, good quality file, and just check the recording path. By default, I believe that it will put it into the videos folder on the users sort of section of your hard drive under your name, but if it doesn't, or if you want to change the area that it's saved, go ahead, just browse, find the right folder, chuck it in there, and you'll be fine. While you're in here, I'd have a look at the hotkeys. I've turned all mine off, and so you won't see them, but check to see if there are any hotkeys listed for any of the vital functions. This is important because, let's say for example you've got Control S or Shift S or something like that. You've got a shortcut in there to stop your recording. If it happens to be a shortcut that is a normal key combination when you're typing, or if you use other software while you're recording, OBS will still interpret that hotkey and stop your recording. So if it was Shift-S, for example, for stop recording, and you've got everything set up and you're in your Zoom meeting and somebody messages you, or you decide to look for something real quick, and as you're typing, you hit Shift-S, bang, now your recording stopped. You don't want to do that. So I remove all of the hotkeys so I don't have to worry about it. And then you can just hit OK and you'll be good to go. So there are several ways to record screens or software in OBS. Excuse me. And I'll talk you through that. By default, you should have one scene, and it should just be called scene. For clarity, let's rename that. So right-click on it, hit rename, and let's call it record Zoom. Make it really easy. So that's the name of the scene. Now we want to arrange anything that we want to see in the scene. What we'll do is we're going to hit plus, and you can see all these options here. You want to add window capture. However, before we do that, before we actually go to window capture, let's make sure that we've got our software running that we actually want to capture. So let's go ahead and run Zoom. There it is. Zoom pops up. Let's go ahead and start a meeting, even though we're all by ourselves. And there you go. You can see my meeting. That's my default picture. So now let's go back to OBS, hit plus, hit window capture. Let's call it Zoom meeting. Hit OK. All right. Now you can see there are several elements to this. This drop down next to window lists all the currently active windows. All right. If I go to Zoom, oh look, there's the Zoom controls. You know, if I go to Firefox or Explorer, you know, you'll see any of those pieces of software right there. But we want Zoom meeting. Now the capture method is automatic, and that means that OBS is going to try to detect which video card or which system to use to basically look at the software and capture the video. I have a separate graphics card for my computer because I'm a gamer, but it also has a built-in motherboard and built-in graphics card on the motherboard. And for some reason, OBS, when it uses automatic, it's not really sure what to use, and so you get this white screen. If you see this white block, if you don't see what you have on Zoom, go ahead and click Capture Method, and then just go through the different options until you see what you want to see. Now you can see that it's capturing Zoom correctly. You want to capture the cursor, and you leave client area alone. That's fine. Hit OK, and now this is placed upon our scene. Now we don't necessarily want it to stay this small. We want to see as much video as possible. So go ahead and right-click on this, or right-click on it in the scene list and go to Transform and go to Fit to Screen. Bang. Now it's the size of our video sort of display right there. We don't want to move this around anymore though, so let's hit lock. And if for any reason you wanted to hide this while you were recording, all you'd have to do is turn the eye on and off, and it would hide the window from the OBS software. If I decide to change the size of my Zoom window while I'm recording, it will always keep it in place. It's fine. It's not going to go outside. It might look weird, but it will always capture it. Okay. So that's the video captured, but right now we don't have any audio. So what do we need to do for that? Well, there are two audio sources that we really need to capture. The most important one is going to be the default system sound, because any of the voices coming through Zoom is going to come through the system sound. So hit plus, hit audio output capture. You can leave it just like that, audio output capture, hit OK, and then you can use the default device. That's fine. If you click on the list, you'll see a list of other devices that may or may not work for you. I'm not going to use my Realtek output. I don't want to use my speaker output. I'll use my default setting because I can control the sound configuration through external software because I have a separate sound card. So default should be fine, and it should be fine for you as well. If you hit OK, you'll see that now under Audio Mixer there is an audio output capture monitor right there. Let's test it. Let's make sure it's picking up some audio. So go to something like YouTube, and then just click on let's just click on any old video. All right, there's an ad. Now, right now the ad is muted. Let's unmute. And there's the sound. You should be hearing the sound as I'm talking. And if you look at the OBS software, you can see on the audio capture element that you can see it moving. You can see the monitor moving up and down right there. As I reduce the volume on the video, you can see how it reduces it on the capture monitor until I turn it off. No more sound there either. So let's close that. So we know that that works. There's another important audio element that you want to capture, and that might be your voice as well. So we want to add the ability to capture the sound from our microphone. So I would hit plus, and I would hit audio input capture, and I can just leave that as it is. That's fine for now. Hit OK. Now, you might want to select default for this, depending on what you've got set up. If you're using a laptop that has a built-in mic and cam, then that should be fine. I have a separate external USB microphone that I want to use, so I'm going to select that. Webcams also have mics built into them that you might want to select, but that's up to you. You'll know what you like to use, because if you go and check Zoom and click on your settings, you'll see which microphone it's detected and what it likes to use. Okay. So there's the input, this input terminal. This is my webcam essentially. This is my USB mic, and this is from my Sound Blaster sound card, which I don't have anything plugged into that right now. Or I can just say same as system. I specify my own. You may choose same as system. It's up to you. You could probably pick the same as this setting right here. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to hit the USB PNP audio device, and I'm going to hit OK. And now you can see there's a second audio monitor in the audio mixer, and this is moving as my voice, speaks, as I speak with my voice, make noise, blah, blah, blah. Boop. Right. There's one caveat to this. If you output your system sound to external speakers and you have your mic open all the time, then your mic will probably pick up other people's voices from the speakers, and OBS will record both. It will record the system sound and the microphone sound, so it may lead to an echoey effect. To prevent that, there's two things you can do. First, you can mute the mic when you're not using it. Now, there's no mic input whatsoever. That means that when you want to record your voice, if you're going to speak, you have to remember to unmute yourself. There is another option. If you right-click on Audio Input Capture and go to Filters, and go to plus, you can add what's called a noise gate. A noise gate is something that will basically open and close depending on the volume that it is presented with. So for example, when it detects a volume that's lower than a certain threshold, the mic will close, and when it's above a certain threshold, the mic will open. These are minus numbers, so obviously minus 32 is less than minus 26. So as you get quiet, it will close. If you suddenly speak, it will open. Takes a little bit of balance if you want to have it so that the sound through your speakers does not activate the open threshold of the mic, but your voice will. That can take some fiddling, but it is possible to have it work automatically. You don't have to worry about that though if you don't want to. If you don't talk much, or if you're not recording meetings that you're active in, then you just record other people's voices, and that's fine. Okay, so that is basically it for that. We've got audio input for the mic, audio capture for the output. We've got our Zoom. We can put that on mute. All you have to do now is, whenever you want to record, is hit start recording. And then when you're done, that button will also, if I actually hit it, I'm already using it to OBS to record, so I'm not going to risk messing with it right now. But if I hit start, it will change to stop recording, and then you hit stop, bang, it will compress and save the video for you. What else is there? Is there anything else? So let me know if you've got any questions. Just give me a shout. And I hope this was somewhat helpful with my rambly, waffly explanation.